Saw that little hype video he put out there with you and him. You're hanging around in the background, you know.
No, we had a good time, man. But grateful that you're back, and no better timing either. I mean, there's a lot to talk about, a lot that you so-called missed Friday and yesterday, but that's what you have today for, Tom.
I'll tell you, and there's a lot to discuss. There is a developing story on a couple of different fronts on the same topic that I'm going to discuss right now. And folks, the situation is dire when it comes to the Rays and their place here in Tampa Bay. Dire with a capital D. And that is the subject of our opening drive here on a Tuesday.
Start the engine. Gas to the floor. Here's the opening drive.
It's not a good scene. You know, it's not, Kevin Cash. So on Thursday, I was here. I was talking to Matt Silverman. He joined the show, and that is when the announcement came about that the Rays are going to be playing at Steinbrenner Field. And in my opinion, and I had projected that was going to be their place a couple of days prior. I really didn't have any insider information on that. I just felt like it was the perfect place for the Rays for a lot of different reasons. And the Pinellas County Commissioner obviously did not agree. That's Chris Latvala. Now, he will join us on the show tomorrow. We efforted to get him on the show today, but the Pinellas County Commissioners are meeting as we speak. That meeting started at 2 o'clock. That's going to go all the way through the afternoon, all the way up until 8 o'clock. The Rays, by the way, are at this meeting that's taking place right now with the Pinellas County Commission. And we may very well get some breaking news coming out of this meeting while we're still on the air. We're on the air until 7. And if anything happens there, we're going to let you know. But Pinellas County Commissioner Chris Latvala will join me on the show tomorrow, and there's a lot to discuss with him about. Now, I'll say this right now, okay? You could be upset, you could be annoyed about what's happening right now with the Rays, and I would say that their place or their standing here in Pinellas County and in Tampa Bay altogether is tenuous, to say the least. I think we're on shaky ground. And if you had to compare this to like a military type of situation, DEFCON 1 is like, World War III, pretty much, if you remember the movie War Games. And a lot of people get that flipped around. Oh, DEFCON 5, we're in DEFCON 5, we're in panic mode. No, it's the other way around. DEFCON 5 is totally normal. It's peace. It's tranquility. It's serenity now, insanity later. But DEFCON 1 is all the way at the opposite end of the spectrum. DEFCON 1 means World War III, dire situation, all hands on deck. In my opinion, right now, the Rays standing in Tampa Bay is DEFCON 2. We're almost there, folks. And I think right now is an opportunity for maybe cooler heads to prevail. I don't know if that will happen because there is some breaking news on what the Rays are trying to do behind the scenes to get these bonds approved. We know that there have been a chain of events that has occurred over the last six weeks or so. And it started, unfortunately, with Hurricane Milton. If you want to point to one area, something to blame, and everyone wants somebody that they can blame. And a lot of people are pointing the finger to Chris Latvala. A lot of people are pointing the finger at Stu Sternberg. But if you're going to point the finger and point to one event that has led us to this situation right now, it's Hurricane Milton. It is an act of God. Because when that took place and that ripped off the roof of the Trop, it has set into motion a chain of events that has led us to this point right here, right now, which is this. Baseball in Tampa Bay is in serious danger. I'm just telling you right now. And it's not because necessarily of Stu Sternberg, although he is not without blame. Everyone wants to pile on the Pinellas County Commissioner, Chris Ladvala. And I'll just say this, okay? And it's not his fault either, because you knew back in July he was against this. And he will join me on the show tomorrow at 4:30. But while I'm on that subject, and I'm going to say this. Under no circumstances are you to engage in any sort of behavior toward a celebrity, public official, what have you, that is going to end up with you going to jail. Don't be that guy. Don't be that girl. Don't be that person. There was a death threat made against Chris Ladvala, and I think that's despicable. It was a 17-year-old kid from Pinellas County who went on Twitter and threatened to kill this guy. Don't do that. That's vile, disgusting behavior, and I want to know where that kid's father is at, by the way. If that was my kid, there'd be furniture moving, and I think that would be the start of that conversation. It may end in a different way. But don't be that person, okay? And while we're at it, you shouldn't be inciting a mob either. And that is a message that should be received by somebody else. But don't be that person by being, and I've seen a lot of social media, and this is why social media to me is just vile, and it really has no place in society, but it is a part of today's culture, and I understand that. And trust me, I've been on that side of it too, where people are coming after me on X or Twitter or for whatever reason, and people just want to be outraged, and that is the culture that we live in. What an outrage. I can't believe this is happening. Everyone wants their pound of flesh, but there are ways to go about it. If you are not happy with an elected official, vote him out. That's how you handle that. You don't threaten the person unless you want to go to jail. And if you're getting that message from someone else, then that person's an idiot. And I'll just leave it at that. But I was absolutely dismayed when I saw that over the weekend. That some person, because they're upset, you know, if a lot of you, projected your anger and used it in a positive way, maybe we wouldn't be in this situation. What am I talking about? I could be talking about a lot of different things. Everyone was outraged about what took place here a couple of weeks ago. And I couldn't believe, the outpouring of outrage and disgust and anger. Where was it for the last couple of years? Because if my guys got that sort of support, they would still be here. That's another story for another day. I'm on one today, boy. Being out for 4 days and observing what I've observed, I'm telling you, it makes me sick to my stomach. And look, the Rays are not without fault either. They're trying to press the issue. So the breaking news that took place just a couple of hours ago is that the Rays have sent a warning letter to the Pinellas County Commission saying that a deal for a new stadium is at best in serious jeopardy. And that the team stands, quote, ready to work on a new solution, unquote, in Tampa Bay, whatever that means. And a lot of you are already thinking, well, maybe they can end up in Hillsborough. That would be great. But guess what? That ship sailed about 7 years ago, when a deal was right there, ready to be had. And I've talked about this time and time again. And Stu Sternberg had the opportunity to put up his end of the money for that Ybor Stadium, and he didn't do it. And I think there was some remorse after the fact. But now fast forward, we're in a situation where there's a $1.3 billion stadium as part of the gas plant district redevelopment deal that is on the table right now. And because of the hurricane, and again, That is the one event that you can't point to, and it's, well, how can you blame a hurricane? It's just an unfortunate fact of life. Things happen that you have no control over. The Rays didn't have control over it. Pinellas County officials didn't have control over it. It was an act of God, unfortunately. And now we're all dealing with the consequences. But when Hurricane Milton blew through, it has set forth a chain of events that has gotten us to this point. Because the Trop got tore up, the Rays had to look for an alternative place to play. And the only logical destination for them was Steinbrenner Field for a lot of different reasons. And I know the county commission is not happy about that. I know Chris Ledval is not happy about that. That's one of the things that we're going to talk about when he joins us tomorrow. But Baycare Ballpark in Clearwater was not equipped to handle Major League Baseball because it's not only the Rays and the organization, what their front office and what their ownership decided to do, but they also had their players in mind. There's a players union that you had to acquiesce to. Major League Baseball got involved. And the only place for the Rays to play in 2025, the best option was Steinbrenner Field from a capacity standpoint, from an infrastructure standpoint, from a facility standpoint, from a parking standpoint. It checked all those boxes. I'm sorry. TD Ballpark in Dunedin, you cannot play 81 games there and park where exactly? And they don't have the facilities that the Rays needed for their players. Ditto Baycare. They didn't have the facilities. 8,000 capacity. Steinbrenner Field was the only logical option for the Rays. And because they picked it, because the Trop got torn up because of the hurricane, this is what we're talking about. This is why we're in the position that we're in right now. And now, because of the hurricane, the bonds might be delayed. And if the bond vote's going to be delayed, it looks like the Rays are trying to pull the old squeeze play on the Pinellas County Commission. Like it or not. And they're trying to get the commission to push the bond vote through because they have a lot of people on standby who are waiting to work on the project of the new stadium, and now that has been suspended, which, according to the team, has cost them tens of millions of dollars. Architects, people, project managers, people that were going to work on the new stadium were supposed to relocate, come here, set up shop while they do their business, and now apparently that's off the table. And if that's off the table, then a new stadium is not going to be built. And I think I said this when the vote came down. I'm like, oh, this is great, and everyone's celebrating, but I'm one of those people that is not convinced until that shovel goes into the ground. Guess what? We may never have that happening, where the shovel actually goes into the ground, we break ground, and here we go. The thing that we've been waiting for, I don't know, I've been here 20 years, and it may not happen now. And now the Rays are pulling the squeeze play on. They are at this Pinellas County Commission hearing, which is going to go on. It started at 2 o'clock. Right now they're talking about, and I have the feed up, somebody's discussing agenda item number 35 at this point. Number 35? That's me, grilled BLT. Give me a BLT with a side of chips. But the Rays are there. And when that item does come up, we're going to keep you updated on what exactly does take place. But I don't think we're going to see a vote. I don't. And that's going to put us in a real tight spot. For the last year and a half, I've been on this station telling you about things that I've been told about different investment groups. And this is another sidebar to this story, which you guys need to be paying close attention to. In the last 2 years, at least, there have been investment groups that have approached Stu Sternberg about buying into the team, if not buying the team altogether. And it has gone as far as a term sheet being put on the table. And obviously that was scrapped at the last minute because there were things happening in terms of the St. Pete City Council in terms of the mayor putting his stamp of approval, trying to push forward the new stadium deal. That's why the Rays held off, or else I think the Rays would have new owners by now. But that right now is not on the table, but I think that idea, that thought, could be revisited fairly soon based on what happens today. So there's a lot of things that have been put into motion. But basically, the bottom line is this. I think we're in real danger of baseball leaving. And you can blame a lot of different people. You can point fingers at a lot of different people. But unfortunately, the one event that you may have to point to at the end of the day, which could throw everything for a loop, was an act of God, which was Hurricane Milton in early October. Because had the Trop not been damaged, and we would not be in the situation that we're in right now. And it's dire, folks. I'm telling you, it's dire. We're at DEFCON 2. DEFCON 1 is the team being sold to an investment group, which then moves it to Nashville, or a Hail Mary investment group, and there are a couple of them out there that have made themselves present and available that could, perhaps, I emphasize could, not will, could maybe be a factor at some point. A lot of moving parts. It's exhausting. I can't tell you how many times I've done a show where we're talking about the stadium situation. We're talking about the situation being dire. The Al Lang sale idea that was voted down, that fell apart. And then we were talking about the Ybor Stadium deal, which was so close. I mean, you were at the 5-yard line. Unfortunately, they couldn't get the ball into the end zone because of finances, mainly on Stu Sternberg's part. And I will lay it right at his doorstep because that should have happened. That should have been nailed down. And had it happened at that time, and I've talked about it in the 4, 5, 6 years since, I think that stadium would have opened this year down at Ybor, probably where it does belong. But now here we are in a dire situation where this bond vote gets delayed. And if the bond vote gets delayed, all bets are off in terms of baseball staying here in Tampa Bay for the long term. And that would be a damn shame for everybody involved because everybody loses. The Rays may not lose because depending upon what happens to them, based on that lease agreement with the Trop, they do have redevelopment rights, so that money is still going to them, regardless. 888-546-4620. Lot happening with the